welcome. It is Meet the Authors series, and today we are in Europe with Dr. Wolfgang Riebe. Hello, Wolfgang.
Hey, how you doing, Dave? Always good to see you.
Doing great, and it's always awesome to see you. Love your backdrop. Maybe you'll tell our listeners today a little bit about where you are, and tell us about the latest book that you've just finished.
Yeah, well, greetings from Geneva, here in Switzerland. We've actually had a few sunny days, not much of a summer, but it's been really awesome. And that's the Geneva Lake. And with a jet behind me, you can walk around there on sunny days. You can go swimming there. The water's crystal clear, really beautiful. And we're close, I mean, right 10 minutes from France. So really, really nice. Yeah, so I've been writing for quite a while. And I've got to see which way I'm going to move that way. Yeah, you see, there's some of the books. And I decided to write a new book, and it's got a really weird title: Smoke, Mirrors, Braaivleis, and Sauerkraut. Now, what's that all about? Dave, you might know the guy. There was a guy, the cruise director on the Oceanus when it sank, as well as the Kitty Laura, a friend of mine called Robin Boltman, very well-known South African guy. And he wrote his life story. And then this last year before he passed on, he came to me and he wanted me to help him redo it. And as I'm going through this stuff, we're talking about our careers as entertainers and speakers. And he kind of inspired me to write my life story. And then I was first of all going to call it something controversial to annoy everyone. And it was going to be called I Grew Up in Apartheid South Africa. What's your excuse? Because everybody always thinks only Black people had it tough, not just white people. So being a very positive person, I put my feelers out, and everybody came back and said, "You're too positive, the title's too negative," which I wanted to stir feelings, because, the perception was always one side. Let's give the other side. So then eventually I said, okay, I'm a funny guy. I like life. Let's look at a more creative title. So hence Smoke Mirrors is the magician side background of me. And then Braaivleis is, of course, a barbecue in South Africa. And then with a name like Wolfgang, I don't have a choice to be German, so Sauerkraut. So that's where the title comes from. And it's pretty much a life story. I've just pre-launched it in South Africa now, and it's going to be on Amazon in about 2 weeks, and all over. And it's my life story, but it's not just, there's a bit more to it. I start with my parents, because I had World War II refugee parents that had to flee and move to South Africa, hence my being brought up there. And they started with nothing. They lost everything. I come from one could even say a poor family. Using my hobbies, I bought my first bicycle and things. So, and when people see you as a middle-aged white man that grew up in South Africa, they think you're a racist. You had to do with the pot, which none of us have any choice in where we're born, where we grow up, what color skin we have, what religion, all that kind of stuff. So I just try to put everything into a nice perspective and say, but hang on, there's also another side of the story. Because even though people want to say privilege, which I disagree with, there were a lot of things against us with the sanctions in the country. We had no opportunities either. And then, of course, I never let things like politics get me down or negativity. And the whole book has got this, it's got all life experiences, but from working in over 160 countries to Hollywood, to being a television celebrity, I wasn't privileged. I made it happen. Nobody else made it happen. It was all about my attitude and associating with the right people. And of course, the karma, helping everybody out there, uplifting others as well. So it's not just a life story, it's also an inspirational book. And then, of course, when I wrote it, it's very difficult not to write about the current South African government that's completely ruined one of the most beautiful countries in the world. And it did have a bit of a negative tone in the beginning. So my wife, who's, like in all our relationships, who's the boss, went through it and she said, you can't say that, you can't call them terrorists. Why not? They are, and all this kind of stuff. So like we kind of just fine-tuned it a little bit. Now it's like, it's got a bit more rumor.
You'll be allowed to go back to the country with this book.
I'm not sure, but yeah, I'll be able to sneak in now.
I like your memorable, magical moments.
Yeah, that was interesting because when I moved back to Europe, I had to get an ad agency to a PR company to give me a new brand, because you'll know that in the States, in Canada, let's say in English-speaking countries, they think a lot differently to the Germans. And then when the Germans said to me and heard I'm moving to Switzerland and said, you know, that the Swiss are even more narrow-minded than us, I'm like, no bloody way. Damn right they are. That's why I moved to the French side, because these guys are really friendly here, much better. But, you know, they have a different mindset. Our English marketing is out there in your face and you're selling yourself. Whereas the Europeans, let's say the Germanic Europeans, see that as arrogant, and they don't like, they're very clean and reserved. So, you know, how many thousands later, that's my logo. But it's also because of the combination of having been an entertainer and a speaker and a master of ceremonies. Everything I've done with people has created memorable, magical moments. And if you think about life, especially us now, we're getting older. One day when I sit back and look back at my life, I want to be able to count all my memorable, magical moments. And everybody I bump into, I want to help them be able to do that too.
So let me go back and bring this to part of our focus to the audience. And the audience here is new authors, aspiring authors. What would be advice that you would give to a new author?
Hi, that's a good question. Let me change this over to my nice background again. I would say that write what you're passionate about. You know, if you look at, you must have met Dan Poynter, you know, speaker. I mean, the man wrote over 100 books, and he got me into the self-publishing side. First of all, to new authors, you're not a Bill Clinton, you're not an Obama. Nobody's interested in you. When you do your book, don't put your face on it, because no one knows you, no one cares who you are. Have the cover appealing. I mean, again, I say that, and I've just had a face on, but this is my autobiography. You know, if you look at all my other books, none of them have any of my face or anything on them. So that's very important. And write what you're passionate about, and don't do it to make money. I think Dan, back then, the reason I mentioned his name, and he said most authors don't sell more than 500 copies. That's reality. You're lucky if you sell 100 copies. If you go through a mainstream publisher, if you're that lucky to find one, at the end of the day, you're going to net in your pocket maybe 6-7% of the book. You're much better off going digital and publishing on demand on your own, because they even expect you as an unknown person to make all the effort. So between Smashwords and Kindle and all these places, it's going to be a learning curve to get to everything in the right order, but go for it and be sneaky about it. Journalists also tend to be arrogant and don't want to review self-published books. So don't let them know it's self-published. And how do you do that? And I mean, I got this course for speakers, and I share a lot of it in there. So I'm going to give you a few really good secret tips here. When I never wanted to write. When I started, I knew a number of speaker colleagues who were also in the same situation. So I created my own company. When I say company, I bought a domain, and this domain was publishing. So, you know, if you write your own book and it's published by you, whatever, it's self-published. But if you write the book and it's written by Dave Rogers and the publisher is ABC Publishing, even though it's just a domain name, there's a publisher publishing it. And then if you get a group of mates in and say, look, you can use my domain and my name, and suddenly there are a lot of different books. Suddenly you've got a publisher publishing it. Costs you nothing extra, creates a better impression. Journalists are suddenly interested in reviewing your book. It's these little tips which take years to learn. And if you're publishing, and if you're a speaker, I've got my first book I published, it's a bestseller, and literally hundreds of thousands of copies. And people freak out, which, I mean, it's not grammatically the best book, though that's the other thing with starting out. I mean, I've spent a fortune on editors to check the grammar and the spelling, and I could have just peed the money out somewhere. It was the biggest waste of money ever, because there were still spelling mistakes. So, and that's really annoying when you spend good money on that. And then you get sarcastic reviews with, you know, book's great, pity you can't spell, or something like that. So what I did is publishing on demand, digital publishing. You can publish one book, 20 books. As soon as I finish the book, I try and first of all buy a PDF, get my mates to read it, 1 or 2 mates, and myself, my partner, and try and correct all the spelling. The spell checks in Word and that aren't going to find everything, but they'll find pretty much everything. Then I print like 20 copies, and I just, even on the cover, I put sample, and I hand these out to certain people. And I say, I'm giving you this as a gift. If you find any mistakes, come back to me. And, you know, it cost me a 20th of the price of getting a professional to check my thing. And they come back. And then you've got it on your computer, you just correct everything, and then you do the final print. So that's also, it's a good tip to have. But also, how did I get my one book to sell so much? Is that when I was really traveling the world and speaking at all these international conventions, especially if you are going to speak and going to market yourself, in fact, any industry that you're in, the organizers always, whoever books that event, the organizers always have a budget for corporate gifts for the delegates. That can range from anywhere from $10 to $30. Now, you know, the cost price, let's say you're getting a 200-page paperback book, cost price is going to be maybe $6. So rather than sell it, now you're charging a fee for your talk, but now if you want to sell your book for $20 to them, although it's in their budget, odds are they're going to get something else like a useless can opener or a bottle of some nonsense that you can't fly with on the plane home anyway. So what I did is I got sneaky. I said, how do I motivate them to buy my book? Of course, it's a motivation after your lecture that the delegates have something, but still. So I created a special cover where I could drop the company or the organization that's booking me, their logo and name. So I would do a special print run. So what I said to myself, I tell you what, I'm going to give you my book at cost plus 20. Well, it was always at least cost plus 50. But anyway, and I would do that. So they would go, oh, we're getting it at cost. And then they get their logo on it or the logo of the conference. It's a done deal. And then if you still, you know, you always have to keep aces up your sleeve. Being someone that's into magic, I know about that. And the extra, if they still don't want to buy it, everybody has a fantasy, a dream of being an author or seeing their name in print. Dan Poynter said, author is short for authority. So what I do then is I'll go to the CEO of the company or the president and say, by the way, I'll do this, and you can even write a foreword in the book. Done deal. They'll spend that $20, $30 per book, man. And you know, you do a conference, there 1,000, 2,000 delegates, that's one gig, boom, 2,000 books gone. And like that. And I mean, that's literally how I was a machine. And if I can give you any tip, that's the only way you as an unknown person are going to get out there and do that. And even as a business card, your book, why waste money on brochures and business cards? Put a book in someone's hand that gets passed on. Best thing you can do.
Well, Wolfgang, I asked the question for the aspiring author. You just gave it from the aspiring author, the experienced author, the speaker, the global speaker. Fantastic feedback. Anyone who, that's a clip that it's the top 7 tips to be able to sell thousands of books. Fantastic.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's enough to get you excited.
Actually, I should ask you for the link to the program that you have online, but maybe I'll get those links a little bit later, because my next question, this latest book you got, Making Magical Moments, your biography. If we could get it in the hands of somebody in the next 6 months, who would you love to get it in their hands?
Yep. You know, I'm at that age where I've lived my dreams, and that comes across in the book. I'm too tired to still run around like a madman. So if you'd asked me that question 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I would have like, man, New York Times, somebody that's going to do a review and that, it would still be nice to do that. But at the moment, my whole goal of the book is, you know what, it's just to share a message of peace and love and respect. And if I can just change one person's life with it, I mean, I wrote it that my kids, that my daughters have something to remember their dad by, why was he so crazy and whatever. And then I think the COVID times are also really good for this, because I've been kind of a stickler to keep photos. So I was just going through every year from 1989 through photos. Oh yeah, that happened, that happened. And the older you get, the kind of remember more those things. But in our speaking and entertainment industry, we have such absurd and wacky memories. I mean, my God. So it was like, you know, I started writing it, and I've had a lot of, I call a spade a spade. I've had lots of ups and downs. I invested everything back in the country. I thought it was going to come right, and it didn't, and all these kind of things. And I'm open about it. But with all the negative that's happened in my life, suddenly I'm using COVID to write about my life, and I'm going, oh my God, I have had such a life. I am so blessed. So it was like a reminder for me. And I think anybody that reads it is going to be laughing a lot, going to be saying, damn, this guy, you know what, he's just like me. He calls a spade, and this is how I dealt with it. I would have dealt with it like that, but he just had a different way of looking at it here. And at the end of the day, it just made me go, wow, I'm really content now. I'm at peace, and all I want to do is I want to leave a legacy. And the legacy, even if I leave it to one or two people, then I've had purpose on this world, in this world. So for me, it's to leave that legacy to inspire someone else to reach their dreams, because I literally have achieved all my dreams, and it's been a fantastic ride.
Thank you for that answer. And I'm really aware that it's how you feel right now. Okay, the authenticity, the genuineness, and the way that you're living your life. Now, I am going to play the game again. Let's think of a woman and a man in the world that you would love that they read it, they liked it, and they endorsed it. Who would that be?
Damn. Without causing controversy, a woman and a man. I wouldn't mind the Prime Minister of Germany, Merkel, reading it.
Thank you.
Because
that gives me goosebumps, my friend. That gives me goosebumps because I think that's a great name.
Yeah, because I just think that she's faltering in the current leadership style, and I think this might just help her come back to ground. Very much so. So I mean, if anybody, yeah,
Prime Minister Merkel's great. And how about a man?
A man. Donald Trump.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
I don't think the challenge is.
I think it did do him good to read it. Whether he would, I don't know. But
it would have to probably be an audiobook.
Yeah.
And Dan Poynter will probably get it because we'll hashtag him. So that might open up some angles over there too. So that's what's, again, the idea here is we are writing for an audience. And I know that your audience, because I've been familiar with you, and we've been to a dozen countries, and that genuineness of somebody who reads page 67 might be inspired to overcome their challenge, or page 194, somebody who is on the top of the mountain, you might remind them of humility. And that on 238, they might just had an argument with their child, and instead of giving them a hassle, they give them a hug. That's what you're about.
Yeah, if I can give you a really personal example that happened in the last, where we're now, Thursday, in the last 4 days. There was the first virtual South African Magicians Convention on Sunday.
Congratulations.
And they asked me if I would do a gala show for them. So I thought, rather than just be in front of one camera, I went around Geneva, did a bit of the history, and I kind of did something really special for them. But in the process of doing that, because of my book, I wrote a chapter in the book which is acknowledging South African magicians that inspired me, and I mention names. And I say this and this. And in that video, I actually went and I said, you know what, this guy, when I was young, I watched you. You didn't know that. Secretly, I collected your stuff, you know. and I did this because I think too few of us acknowledge our peers that inspired us. And I mean, myself that had how many TV programs, it was only through people that I don't know that coming up to me and saying how I changed their lives. I would never have thought of that. It didn't even occur to me. And I'm going, it's one thing to be a personality, but within your fraternity, your colleagues don't even know how you've touched their lives. And so I went and I just was really open, and I just said certain things. And the one guy in particular, I got an email from him yesterday, and he's 74 now. You know, and he put it like this. He says, you know, I've had my life. It's over. I'm on my own, I'm sad, and you just gave an old man an acknowledgement and pleasure for something. And I'm like, I was actually crying, you know, and I sent him, like, I didn't have to, but like literally a 2-page email. Like, and I think we need to acknowledge people more. Say, I love you more. Say, you helped me change my life. You gave me the direction. I think it'll make a better world for all of us.
That's I can reflect into, congratulations on that, Wolfgang.
Oh yeah, and they surprised me with the Lifetime Achievement Award. So that was like, boom, yeah.
You're in this instant karma type of environment. The more you do, which you've been doing for decades, it's coming back so much faster. And that's a little bit of the moon. This month, the moon in Canada is called the sturgeon, which is they live to over 100 years old. And sturgeon are big fish that live in fresh water. And this whole,
think of caviar.
This whole month, yeah, that's in Russia. You wouldn't want to have caviar from Canada. We have gratitude, reaping, and harvesting as we go into this whole moon. And that, what you just said, go into your network, the people that have influence, and extend that gratitude, that kindness, that appreciation. It will shift in ways that go beyond becoming perhaps the big influencer with 25 million followers. It might bring a tear of joy and confidence and kindness to somebody that really cares.
It creates a memorable, magical moment.
And it's weird, wonderful, and wacky. Because if yours is making magical moments, mine's those weird, wonderful, and wacky. And I think we've shared that wacky word for many of our journeys. And
absolutely.
So my next little question is, what are ways that people are going to be able to get a copy of your upcoming book or any of your books? Please share the best ways to reach out to you on social media.
My name, wolfgangriebe.com. Just go on my website, and there are all the books. There's even free courses, online courses, everything. Just wolfgangriebe.com.
I'm going to basically type that in the comments. People reach out that way. Check him out on his website. See some of the reviews. He's got some great online programs. So many gifts. So many laughter moments. That's something that's
it's actually really nice. Even, I mean, I was one of the first guys to start putting courses. I see you've done on Udemy. I mean, I put one free course out. I've got nearly 100,000 students that have just taken that. And, you know, and I've got colleagues going, why didn't you charge for that? I'm like, why? It's the karma I'm putting out there, the love I'm putting out there. I'm changing the world one person at a time. Isn't that what it's about?
It's often spoken, yet you're one of these people that have actually done it and experienced it. And it doesn't necessarily take away the fact that you're going to still have ups and downs. It's just you're going to probably not be in down as long as perhaps others that are there, because you've learned the way to get out of the down is often to do something nice for someone.
I was actually having an interview yesterday, you know him, Frank Furness.
Yes.
And he was doing, he's the top speakers around the world and getting tips and that. And it was actually great because I was just calling a spade a spade. And I was saying to him, the biggest thing in this business is authenticity. It's, walk your talk. Don't, as you said, don't say you're going to do it, then you don't do it. And that's the one thing. And that's where a lot of guys in the industry don't like me, because I can back up everything I say. And when I say this is what I believe you should do, I actually do it.
Here's my last little question to bring this little intro conversation to aspiring authors, veteran authors, people who are looking to grow their enterprise, is what was your favorite book or audio book that you've experienced in the last year?
Whew. You know what? I've been so busy writing, I can't say I've read a book in the last year. I've actually just been writing and watching documentaries. But if you find a book that I actually picked up and really enjoyed, it's an older book now, was Michael Gladwell's Outliers.
Yes.
I was busy on that one. I was just going through Richard Dawkins' God Delusion as well. And I started watching the lectures. It was fascinating. I love to read and listen about different people's points of view. It's not saying I agree with them, but I find too many people are just like this. And I find the more I know why people think the different ways they do, the better of an understanding I can have of things around me.
All right, that's fabulous. I think I'm going to bring this to a close yet. I'm going to ask you, share 3 ways that people can reach out to you. Just list them, and that's how we'll bring the session to a close.
Okay, so on my website, www.wolfgangriebe.com, you can also check me out on LinkedIn, and then also on my public Facebook page, which is Wolfgang Riebe.
Fantastic, Wolfgang. Pleasure to see you. All the best to you, the family, all the beloveds.
Thanks.
And we'll talk to you
Same to
very
you,
soon.
Dave.
Thank you.